still tweeting out 4:35 a.m. It's okay, man. He could be 12 hours away. And
did he complain about the timing of the tweets? I mean, this is a world leader right here, our leader, our president of the United States, able to do the job. You know, future presidents, or candidates, I should say, future candidates
are going to have to live up to this.
They're going to be asked, hey, our previous president, Donald Trump, was able to be up at 4 a.m. doing tweets and whatnot and handling world business. Can you do that?
Jim Acosta tweeted out yesterday something to the effect of, hey, folks, Donald Trump's 12 hours away, so you might not get your daily tweet on time.
Doubt it.
And, hey, Donald Trump tweets out at 4:35 a.m. I retweeted to Jim Acosta, fake news. Hey, fake news once again.
Sometimes I wonder if those two guys are secretly in bed.
Whoa.
I mean, come on. Why are you giving him so much airtime? I wouldn't. I just, you know what? I'd write him out. Actually, he was temporarily kicked out of the White House. So he definitely tried. I have to give President Trump credit for trying to end his career, and rightfully so, because the point of being a journalist, especially somebody who gets to the top of the game and gets to be a correspondent in the White House, you should at least be able to live up to some journalistic standards.
Right.
And Donald Trump tried to address that by kicking him out of the White House, doing us all a favor by telling fake news, you're not going to be fake in my house. And it was reversed by popular demand, I guess. Fake news banded together and demanded that he come back. And so that's why we're dealing with fake news today, because we can't do anything about it.
And I didn't put this in the show notes because there's too much stuff to talk about, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Breitbart did an article and showed that the ratings, the Nielsen ratings for CNN for the month of February, have literally slipped to the lowest ever. The entire network. The highest rated show on CNN, Cuomo, which is beyond. I can't
Cuomo?
get it.
I thought it was Lemonhead.
No. Cuomo's the highest rated on CNN, and he came in out of everything else, came in at 23.
I think what it boils down to, when you really stop and think about it in its totality, you zoom way out, get a big overall picture of it, is that nobody actually watches CNN. The ratings that they're getting, they're probably able to calculate from the fact that there's mandatory airing of this stuff in places like airports, bathrooms,
banks
in
Southern California. Bank of America and Wells Fargo always had a giant flat screen TV in their banks playing 24/7 CNN.
And if you take into consideration that they're getting the lowest Nielsen ratings of all time, you have to imagine that outside of the mandatory viewing, that the captive audience of people waiting for their aircraft to arrive for boarding or to wait in line. Wouldn't be surprised if they actually had the big screen TV at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles.
Sure. Well,
why not, right?
And take
captive
into account captive audience.
Yeah.
And then they would take into account how many people flew on aircraft that day.
Okay.
And then add that to the viewership.
Right. And what does that mean? That means that outside of the captive audience, where you got the toothpicks under your eyelids,
right,
or where they're holding you say, watch. Outside of that, literally nobody's watching it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And then we're going to also go through the Michael Cohen fallout. Folks, this thing that we reported on in real time, we literally had to go with the show while Cohen hearing was
the farce.
The Cohen hearing was going on, so we couldn't catch the last half of it. A lot of great insight from Tucker Carlson, as well as the Daily Caller and Mother Jones.
Oh, I love being trolled by Mother Jones.
Mother Jones doesn't realize that what she did. And it's funny, I guess, that the outlet Mother Jones literally propping up our side.
Oh,
not realizing it. The Democrats literally propped up our side yesterday and had no idea. Mother Jones fell into that pitfall, as well as the Daily Beast. Oh my goodness, folks, this is amazing. Former White House worked with Bill Clinton, came out and blasted all kinds of naysayers, saying that Donald Trump should not be impeached.
Okay.
Former Clinton staffer saying that Donald Trump should not be impeached.
All right.
So,
I mean, duh.
Well, yeah, right.
We've been telling you guys that for years.
Right. But it's amazing yesterday how much they wanted to go after us, how much they wanted to just crush our party, crush Donald Trump. This is the impeachment moment. This is the moment. And it was absolute failure on display, which is hysterical. I love it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It turns out it was a self-own, right? It's like an attempt to try to Rush Limbaugh said yesterday that this was the first step in the new effort to get Donald Trump impeached. And so obviously this is a major offensive by the Democrats on the Republicans. And he pointed out that, and we're saying it's a self-own because halfway through the hearing, I was worried that, oh man, this is going to have some great talking points for the Democrats to use as opposition commercials in the 2020 election cycle. Come to find out about halfway through, we realize this guy has totally discredited himself, lying under oath right there, being fact-checked in real time by the congressmen themselves, whose job it would be to report him to the DOJ for lying to them.
He couldn't stop lying.
No, it was amazing. Amazing stuff there.
We're going to start off with big government high-tech against U.S. citizens. This is front and center, folks. This is all over the place. And as we got an article yesterday, Michelle Malkin.
Oh, yeah.
She tweeted out to let everybody know that her Muhammad cartoon tweet violated Pakistani's blasphemy laws. Michelle Malkin lives in the United States of America.
She's an American citizen, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And is she tweeting from Pakistan? Is she in Pakistan tweeting? Okay, well, Let me ask you this. Well, before we get into my philosophy on this, let's talk about the details of it. So she had a Muhammad cartoon tweet. She tweeted it out. It was apparently violated Pakistan's blasphemy laws. I don't doubt that. It doesn't surprise me. I would imagine that if I were in Pakistan, that if I were to do something like show a picture of Muhammad or say anything in any way that's even could be misconstrued as critical of the religion of Islam, I imagine that within 24 to 48 hours, my head would no longer be attached to my body.
Oh, severed for sure.
I would totally expect that. And that's fine if they want to do that. I'll make sure that I avoid that part of the world. It was the place that was housing the man that was behind the attack on our World Trade Center with, using commercial airliners as missiles, killing thousands of American citizens, and they knew he was there, and they allowed him to stay there. So clearly, Pakistan is a major, major enemy. Probably, if I had to rank the countries throughout the world by the biggest enemies of ours, like the ones that hate us the most, that would want to do the most harm to us, Pakistan's got to be in the top 2 or 3.
Sure.
Got to be. Because simply, if I had to put one piece of evidence on it, it's the fact that they were like, oh, Osama bin Laden, you want to stay here? Oh, okay.
Good to go.
We'll keep it quiet and all that. So I'm not surprised by their reaction. What happened to Michelle Malkin, who was residing in America as an American citizen, using an American platform? What happened to her? What came of this?
Well, if you're looking on the screen right now, I'm showing you the tweet that she tweeted out, and they're cartoon caricatures of Muhammad.
Okay.
I mean, just funny stuff or whatever, just kind of ironic things. Well, Twitter, apparently, Michelle Malkin tweeted out, she said, I've been Silicon Valley Sharia'd.
Oh, gosh. Hashtag.
Here's the notice Twitter sent from their legal department last week, warning me to get legal counsel because anti-blasphemy Muslim zealots complain that my Muhammad cartoon tweet violates Pakistan's law.
Why would Twitter recommend legal counsel to an American citizen residing in America who doesn't have, I imagine that Michelle Malkin has absolutely, I'm going to speak on her behalf. I'm going to speak as though she would tell me, because I'm going to guess it. I'm going to guess it right now. I'm going to guess she would tell me, after asking her if she ever plans on ever going to Pakistan, my guess is she would tell me, never, ever in my lifetime from here going forward, even before this happened. So why is Twitter, an American company, Silicon Valley, this is in California, be recommending her to seek legal counsel because of a law that she may have broken that only exists in Pakistan or maybe some other countries, but Pakistan is the one that complained. Why? What are we talking about here? It doesn't make any sense.
Because Muslim zealots complained.
Now, I would imagine if there were Muslims in America, maybe of Pakistani descent, maybe not, maybe they're just Muslims. In America, could complain to Twitter, and Twitter could then say, hey, we have Muslim users. We have Muslim users who find this so offensive, and we as owners of the platform, the governors of this platform, don't want to upset the American users or even foreign users. It doesn't matter. We don't want to upset them, and so we would like for you to delete that tweet. But to threaten her by saying that she is subject to legalese or legal laws, I should say, that are not under her jurisdiction in any way, shape, or form, seems like a form of intimidation.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. 100% this is intimidation.
Totally unwarranted. Totally unwarranted. And it just goes to show you the ignorance of the staffers at this platform. Like, don't you know that Pakistan cannot subject their laws to people outside of Pakistan? How could they not know this? Why would they send this to her? It's just this level of incompetence and bigotry towards people who are just exercising freedom of speech. This is our way of life in America that we hold dearest to our hearts, our Bill of Rights. And I would argue maybe even in order that they come on the Bill of Rights. The First 100%. Amendment.
Yes, 100%.
The First Amendment. I would say that this might be our most important principle in America. And Twitter's like, I know you're exercising that, but we have people with values in another country that are actually also law. And they may come after you. You might want to lawyer up.
I've argued this before, and I'll argue it again. Some cultures are better than others.
Okay. So we're going down a controversial road, but maybe we need to do that.
It's controversial in the sense that your culture is personal to you. It literally has to do with your parents, your upbringing, your family.
You're saying it's objectively better, but some people would say subjectively, like, hey, I'm Muslim. I think that my way of life is better than yours. It is an interesting argument because somebody that can put themselves on the sideline, put myself on the sideline, I look at it like this. Pakistan is Pakistan. America is America. In America, Michelle Malkin and anybody else who's an American citizen on U.S. soil can exercise freedom of speech, period.
Correct. You cannot do that in Pakistan. And yes, you would probably lose your head.
A great segue, Hail Hitler swastika.
I actually have that right underneath it.
Okay, yes. Let me open up that article. I'm going to go ahead and open that up if I can.
So New York at CNN. So it's CNN's New York division reporting on this.
Yes.
Today, and this happened last Friday.
Oh, it was a week old?
Yes.
Okay.
This happened last Friday, and CNN's reporting on this now. It says CNN, in Queens last week, 12-year-old charged with drawing anti-Semitic graffiti on school playground.
So he was charged. So cops were called. They investigated this. They found out it was a 12-year-old. And when they discovered he was a 12-year-old child, they said, well, we got to do what we got to do.
Handcuff you.
We're going to handcuff him. We're going to charge him. Book him, Danny.
Book him, Danny.
Book him, Danny. And we're going to have him stand in front of a judge and defend himself. Charges of law breaking. Now let me back up and walk through this. So this is at a school playground, I think.
Yes.
And imagine, if you will, you could be in I think I read part of the article that this was in a Jewish community. So obviously this could be alarming to some of the people there.
It's predominantly Jewish. And,
okay.
And a councilwoman, Karen Klowoskowitz, said she received a phone call.
Okay. So imagine this scenario. She receives a phone call. Karen, you wouldn't believe this. I was just walking by, I looked out my window, however it was discovered, and I saw writing on the ground like graffiti saying, "Hail Hitler," and there were swastikas. And by the way, according to this article, there were lots of swastikas all over. We got to investigate this. We got to see what she's talking about. We got to see what it is she's describing. I want to see it with my own eyes. So they go to the playground and they discover that it is true and that it is written in chalk all over the playground.
It's not paint. It's not like spray paint. It's not like something that won't just wash off in a heavy rain.
It's right.
It's chalk.
We have children. It's a new thing. When I was a kid, I don't remember too much doing art on the ground in chalk. But man, in the 2000s, chalk was a hot commodity at the toy store. My daughter drew all kinds of stuff, the hopscotch and all kinds.
Well, my wife painted one solid wall chalkboard green for the kids to write on a wall.
Right. And I'll tell you what, our sidewalks were covered in chalk when my daughter was a little younger because of her and her friends. So anyway, so this is a new thing that's actually pretty popular. But Hail Hitler, swastikas and all that, obviously a little unconventional. Obviously, this is something that you would tell a child, whoa, where did you learn that? Blah, 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 whatever. So they escalate this. They want to find out who did this. This could be anti-Semitic people that are trying to bash Jews, trying to inflict violence on Jews. We got to find out who these people are. Call the cops. The cops come out. Oh my gosh, there are swastikas. There's Hail Hitler all over the ground. Let's start investigating. So they start questioning neighbors. Who was out there? Who was doing the chalk drawing? Whose chalk is this? They probably start saying, well, who was out there? Who was drawing? Little Johnny was out there. Little whoever was out there. All these kids were out there. Who was drawing these things? Fingers are pointed. Little Johnny did it. He was out there. He did it. I told him not to. They find Johnny. Yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. Turn around. Put your hands up against the wall.
Handcuffed him.
What is this?
It's as bad as a situation I saw in L.A. where a 12-year-old kid was arrested for not wearing his bicycle helmet, had appeared in court with his father, and let go, but the judge gave him a tongue lashing.
You know, it used to be
insanity.
It used to be, let's use truancy, because this would be something that would truly get you in trouble. Let's say a 13-year-old kid just decided, I'm done with school, and you're supposed to be 16 before you're allowed to drop out. So here's a 13-year-old just saying, screw it, I'm not going to school. You have very negligent parents. They don't even notice that you dropped out, or maybe they even allowed you. Back in the day, you'd be hauled in front of court as a parent. They don't even care about the kids. The parents would be charged for not making their kids go to school. The truancy thing would be, a juvenile thing, I guess, but the parents would be in trouble for this. In this particular case, I would be surprised to find out that the parents would actually have told the kids it's okay to write Hail Hitler and swastikas all over the ground. I would argue that at worst, the parents would be talked to and told, hey, are you going to tell these kids that this isn't appropriate? That's at worst. At best, they probably could even say, well, the cops should say to the neighbors, hey, listen, obviously this is something that's bad. I hope the child gets punished by the parents, but this is protected by the First Amendment.
Right.
You've got to have enough respect for the First Amendment, just like Twitter should have respect for the First Amendment, that even the most vile, disgusting things, this isn't vandalism. They didn't use spray paint. This could be washed off with a hose. You don't even need high pressure.
No.
This could be washed off in the next rain.
And I will even argue as much as if a business wants to put a sign in the front of their business that says whites only, I will go so far as to say that that's not illegal and that is protected by the First Amendment. You and I will answer that by not going to the business.
Right. And then in this case, if an adult did this, if an adult wrote Hail Hitler, swastikas all over the place in a predominantly Jewish community, that would be alarming. And I would really wonder how that would end up. And I would think that this is a major problem. Somebody needs to have a paradigm shift. But children just don't know. I shared a video yesterday that we can't share today with you because maybe we'll put it in the link in the description.
Okay.
I'll have Brian do that. So maybe you can go down after the show's over, go into the description and click on this. But there was this black gentleman that looked like a young adult who described a scenario when he was a child, being in basically a predominantly black school being taken on a field trip to go pick cotton. And now this would have been years ago because this guy is now an adult. So we're talking many years ago, was in Alabama, I think, is where he said. And he was taken on a field trip to a plantation where they showed all these black children how to pick cotton and encouraged them to go out and pick the cotton. The kids were like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm learning something. And they're picking cotton. And I'm sure everybody listening to me say this story right now is probably like, what? Are you kidding me? And by the way, you'll find out when you click on the link for this video, everybody was just amazed at the story that this could even happen. However, here's the key to the story. As a child, him and all of his classmates, all of them, they had no idea that this was supposed to be a racist activity. They had no idea. They just were learning something. They were like, oh, so this is where the raw material for making clothing comes from. Oh, this is how it's made. And by the way, when the cotton gin was invented, this is something that was probably taught to them. Human beings didn't have to do so much labor anymore. The machine did it, right? And so this is stuff that you learn about the Industrial Revolution. When he got home and told his mom about it, his mom blew a gasket, went to the school and blew up on the teacher.
Okay, so who's the racist? Who's racist?
Well, they were trying to say, or the mother was trying to say, and I think 99% of black mothers would probably react the same way. I don't mean to speak on behalf of black mothers out there, but here's the thing. The child had no idea that this was racist until he had to go through the experience of the reaction of his mother. He then pointed out, and you'll see this in the video, watch the whole thing to the end. He then calls it one of the most racist episodes he's ever experienced in his entire life. And he didn't even know until he was taught by his mom. So the point is that this child, this 13 or 12-year-old who uses chalk to write Hail Hitler, swastikas, whatever, if I were there and I was in charge of investigating this, I would go to the child and ask him where he learned this, why he was. I would ask him why.
I would question his parents immediately. I would go straight to the parents and say, hey,
right, did
you know that your son did this? I just want to ask you, did you know? Wait for the answer and go from there. Other than that.
Was he doing this to troll Jews? Or was he some kid that's just really into history and just got done watching one of these shows that you see constantly on the History Channel, the Discovery Channel, and National Geographic that show documentaries about Hitler? And not that he's saying, oh, wow, I wish Hitler was back, but maybe just thought that the swastika looked cool. And by the way, if you read the article, he also drew some of the eagle patterns that were prominent as part of the logos for Nazis back in the 40s and 30s.
In my mind says that, man, he just learned about all this
stuff. We
stuff.
just don't know. Maybe he is racist against Jews. How would a 12-year-old have gotten that way? It would have been taught to him.
Racism
People
is taught.
are not born racist against Jews, against black. This is all taught. And I think it was a very informative video that I watched of this young black gentleman who had to discover that picking cotton as a child was totally racist. Unbeknownst to him, he had to be taught that it was racist. Picking cotton in a vacuum, in a world, in an alternate universe where slavery had never existed, picking cotton is a necessary thing to create cotton clothes. It's a necessary thing. Cotton gin comes along, and maybe it's not so necessary anymore, but
it would be like going out to a watermelon field and picking watermelons. Or eating watermelon.
All of a sudden, black people can no longer eat watermelon. There is an entire, and maybe we should put this link in the description too. There's an entire segment on the Dave Chappelle Killing 'Em Softly thing where he had no idea a black man eating fried chicken was supposed to be inherently racist. He points out in this segment of Killing 'Em Softly that it ruined fried chicken for him. He could no longer eat fried chicken because he felt that every time he ate fried chicken, that white people were looking at him funny.
Good friend Terrence, who's in the hospital, who we Pray that you get better soon.
He's parodying it.
Yeah, in his little icon, he's either eating
fried chicken
leg.
Yep.
Or I think at one time he had it on a fishing pole or all kinds.
Really? So he's actually making fun of the idea of eating fried chicken being a thing that is characteristic of black people or something. And that doing so is just inherently racist.
Now, coming out with these articles today versus last week, today being the day after the Cohen debacle. I mean, Cohen just literally said racist, racist, racist. So why not throw this out there as a good article? Governor Andrew Cuomo pounced on this. He directed state police hate crimes task force to assist the New York Police Department. And again, as I was saying, Councilwoman Karen Klosowicz, who represents that district, she was outraged and horrified. It's so horrible, horrified. It's a scary, exceptionally scary incident. So the fear mongering continues with the Democrats, and they just scream and yell. But again, as we talk about the First Amendment, real quick, the Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment, and we have an incredible, just a short little quip, incredible Oklahoma governor signs bill eliminating concealed permit requirements.
That means that he is making it more permissive to bear arms.
He says that the Second Amendment is your permit. Yeah. He joins the ranks.
The Bill of Rights is, I mean, you got to look at the language of the First Amendment. We've had long discussions on previous shows about the nuances of the actual language of the text of the Second Amendment as written by our founders. And it is so clear. It is almost impossible to figure out a way. You have to be intellectually dishonest to come up with a way to construe the language of the Second Amendment to say that,
and they did. They redefined the word militia.
Right. They tried to say that a militia is government officials, which is actually the opposite of what it is. A militia is specifically citizens. Specifically. So you're not government. You are the opposite of government. You are the citizens. And so that's what a militia is. But it was argued that a militia is police officers, military, whatever it might be, National Guard, sheriffs. These would be considered people of the militia, and therefore only those people. And by the way, it only says that right to bear arms for all the people is necessary in order to have militias. But militias are any citizen. Is the intellectual dishonesty to try to construe it as any form of limitation whatsoever on bearing of any arms. And by the way, the word arms itself is so broad. It includes knives. It includes ammo. It includes clips. It includes shields. A shield. You could go through public with a shield. That is considered armament. Arms. You have the right to bear it.
So banning switchblades or blades that pop out.
Yeah.
Or any length of blade.
I was brainwashed into believing that, the Second Amendment does allow people to have firearms. But man, do they crack down on knives. Woo! Yeah. And they're allowed to because Second Amendment doesn't protect you for stuff like that. That's not just for baseball, but for actual protection.
You can't don't walk down the street with aluminum bat.
Aluminum bat, if you're not going to use it for baseball, is actually protected by the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So I was brainwashed into believing that only firearms is protected by the Second Amendment. It's everything that would be considered an armament.
And former Governor Mary Fallin, who is or was a Republican, vetoed this. She vetoed She vetoed this. So
Oklahoma?
Yes. So current Oklahoma Governor Kevin Smyth ran on this bill, said, as soon as I win, I'm signing this immediately.
And here's another civics lesson for you all. The Supreme Court, it's not their job, and they cannot do this. They will not do this. It's not their job to say, hey, we need to go into Oklahoma and put a stop to this.
Right. Now,
the way it works is somebody has to literally break the law, go to court locally and say, I'm innocent because the Second Amendment protects me, and then have this thing appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, where finally the Supreme Court could look at it and say, guys, They're protected by the Second Amendment here. Yeah. And at that point, the precedent is set after millions and millions of dollars in legal fees.
And Alan West pointed this out the day that the Supreme Court ruled gay individuals are included under the word marriage.
Okay.
And that all states must recognize this as a change to the definition of the word marriage.
Yeah, that's really weird.
So Alan West said, because of this changing of the definition of the word marriage, and all states must now see this and recognize and allow it, that you must now rule that because Oklahoma, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Kansas, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, West Virginia, Wyoming, and Vermont see the Second Amendment as your concealed carry permit, because they all do, you now must recognize all states must do the same thing.
I would hope that that's how it goes down, because
I think that's a great argument, though. That's precedent.
I'm down for it. I'm down for it. That's interesting. So they made the argument that because the change of definition of marriage in one state calls into question or sets a precedent for all other states.
Good lawyer could make a very good case for that and say, see, this is apples to apples, same thing, you must rule.
Yeah. Series of tweets yesterday, and I know I saw this years ago, but I totally forgot about it. Somebody did a legal segue, side-by-side comparison between slavery and the arguments to keep slavery back in the mid-1800s to the argument to keep abortion legal. And it was very interesting the way they talked about how, well, the legal idea of allowing abortion is that the mother owns the baby until it's born. They own the baby. And that the baby's not a person until it's born. And if you look at the argument for slavery back in the day, that the slavery owners, the plantation owners, owned the slaves, and that the slaves are not people until after they're set free.
Yep.
So there is a one-to-one, almost mirror comparison between the two. I love using the legal logic that has freed the slaves and that has, in this case,
would abolish abortion.
But we're using it all over the place. So changing the definition of marriage, which we don't agree with, because not that we have any problem with gay people doing whatever they want to do. It's just that marriage is a religious institution where it has a specific definition, and it's been in the dictionary for many years.
And we came up with a word for you to use. It's garage.
Yeah. Why can't we just have another word? There's this crazy belief amongst people that want marriage to be recognized for same-sex couples that somehow that not being able to call you married is some sort of an oppressive thing, that somehow we don't accept that you guys are even together because we are telling you that you're not technically married, because the definition of marriage is between a man and a woman. And also, you can't make the argument that we are prohibiting you from getting married, because a gay man can marry a woman if he wants.
Right.
Or a gay woman can marry a man.
Absolutely.
You can get married.
We're not
preventing you.
You got the same rights that we have.
Yeah.
If you want to, you had civil unions, but if you want to take it a step further because of legal documents and things like that, either take civil unions and put legalities behind it, or use the word garage.
And for our gay friends out there that are like, damn it, you guys are holding us back.
No.
I just want to point out that I view the attack on marriage, the institution of marriage, as an attack on Christianity. And for our gay friends that are conservative, you got to understand that it's not that they're not accepting you. It's just that when there's this attack on the institution of marriage, you got to realize it's really the left attacking Christianity. It's what it is. And you can't let the idea that there's oppression of gays by straight people or by Republicans or conservatives, because you're conservative. We're talking specifically to conservative gay people that are on board with us on everything. That you don't want to accidentally join in the fight with the left against a religious institution.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really what it boils down to.
No, 100%. And shifting gears, Donald Trump out there in Vietnam with Kim Jong-un. Hashtag walk away, folks. That's the breaking news of today. Donald Trump tweeting out late last night, all false reporting, guessing, on my intentions with respect to North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and I will try very hard to work something out on denuclearization and then making North Korea an economic powerhouse. I believe China, Russia, Japan, and South Korea will be very helpful. That was his tweet. I take him for his word. He's a hard worker. However, the deal didn't go through. Donald Trump offered up multiple things. Kim Jong-un said, okay, we'll do a partial of the denuclearization, but we want all sanctions dropped. All of them, 100% of all sanctions dropped. And Donald Trump said, we just can't do that at this point in time. Half for full doesn't work here. And I'm paraphrasing, but that was his deal. He said it just didn't work out. Sometimes you got to walk away from it. And there have been some great articles written by the Daily Caller, Breitbart News. And we have Lindsey Graham tweeting out, I appreciate the effort by President real Donald Trump to reach a peaceful conclusion to the North Korean nuclear threat. It's better to walk away than sign a bad deal.
Right. And that's the thing, the art of the deal, right? Donald Trump is definitely going to make sure that there is a deal that's going to be the best for the world and for America for many, many years after he is done being president. And that's what he's going for. And why just, it's not about theater. This is about major, real changes in the world forever. And so you got to get it right. You can't miss the opportunity. It is a historic opportunity, and you can't miss it by making a bad deal.
And so if you guys look down in the show notes, you'll see from Breitbart News, Joe Pollock. And if you're on Twitter, you absolutely must follow Joe Pollock on Twitter. That's his handle, @Joe Pollock. He posted an article. He says, flashback, Rolling Stones in 1986, Reagan flubs. Reagan came home empty-handed from Iceland, and for once he was wearing the black hat, the man who said no to a historic opportunity.
Interesting.
In the article, he then starts to pick apart Obama, Kerry, Iran, disastrous deal, as where Obama and Kerry could not walk away because of the lack of leadership and their weakness and the fact that they had to make so many concessions, and Iran thinking, we'll just keep asking for more and more and more and more. And that's what happened. So
they did a side-by-side comparison of the Iceland deal with Reagan and Obama's horrible deal with Iran.
And comparing that to Donald Trump walking away as well. And as we have history on our side, did the wall come down?
It did. It did.
I'm just saying, man.
So Reagan did the right thing by walking away for the long term. Obama and Kerry did the wrong thing by saying, we got to do something.
For the short.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's just give them whatever they want. And that's what you're dealing with Democrats. And also there might be some more nefarious motivations behind the scenes that we don't know about.
At Charlie Kirk, Democrats holding a hearing with convicted liar Michael Cohen, while real Donald Trump is in Vietnam negotiating peace with North Korea, tells you everything you need to know about the left. They would rather see America fail than see Donald Trump succeed. America First PAC, they tweeted out spokesman Sean Spicer on hashtag Cohen testimony. During the Hanoi summit, Sean Spicer said Democrats could have scheduled hearings with Michael Cohen anytime they wanted. What they chose today, of all days, really says a lot.
There's a lot of criticism on the left regarding his apparent forgiveness of the death of Otto Warmbier. And so,
Donald Trump said, I take Kim Jong-un's word for it that he didn't know.
Okay.
I would take Kim Jong-un's word for it that he didn't know either.
So we've talked about this, and this is a great opportunity for us to reiterate what we said before in previous episodes. So here we go. Otto Warmbier was held captive under a system in North Korea that has been set up by the grandfather and the father of Kim Jong-un.
And a deep state, if you will.
Yes. So when Kim Jong-un took over, how old was he? He was like early
in his 20s. Yeah, he was in his 20s.
Early to mid 20s, very young. You had these old deep state people in North Korea. By deep state, we mean permanent established government workers.
Officials, military officials, prison guards, officials that run the prisons.
The generals, all that stuff.
That multi-tiered, multi-level. Yeah. Think about it. If you're in prison and you want to get the governor's attention to pardon you, how many people up do you have to go?
There's definitely a layered system, and certainly there is in North Korea. And the thing is when Kim Jong-un took over, there were a lot of very old people in government that worked for his father that decided this guy's a young buck. We're a little unsure of what he's going to do to run the country. So we'll just run it and we'll just keep him abreast of what's going on. We'll just make him happy and we'll just do what we've been doing under his father. All of a sudden, Otto Warmbier comes up dead or comes up brain dead. He was still alive when he was sent back. He was declared in a coma.
Right.
And then he died several days later after coming back to America. I believe he was sent home by Kim Jong-un's orders for fear of, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. You know what this tells me? Do you know what this tells me? This tells me that before he even found out about Otto Warmbier, that he was starting to set up a way to become friends with the United States under whatever president and try to become more westernized and improve his country by making it more like the Western country that he went to school in.
Right. Absolutely.
All of a sudden, Otto Warmbier comes up, all beat up and half dead and practically dead. And he probably was like, oh my gosh, this is going to ruin
bad.
my opportunity to fix this country that my stupid father, my stupid grandfather have been running into the ground with this crazy communist crap. And now Otto Warmbier is going to, this situation is going to ruin it. He probably yelled at the people responsible. He may even executed the people who were responsible for this. And I truly believe, I don't think he's lying to Donald Trump when he said he didn't know about it. And I commend Donald Trump for having the wisdom to see it the way we see it, which is, you know what? I believe him.
Yep, absolutely. The deep state in play there.
Yeah.
How you undo all that in any length of time is going to be a monumental task.
Well, it takes a leader like Donald Trump to forgive the country by just understanding there's these bad deep state people these are loyalists to his father. I think that Trump is reading this right. I think he's reading it right. He's reacting to it right. And the left just wants to try to use it as a way to smear Trump as a pushover, as somebody who's falling for these lies coming from a guy who killed an American citizen.
Right. About the current Democratic Party.
Yeah, and if you were watching the hearing from the very beginning, Jim Jordan made a desperate attempt to try to hear testimony at another time. He tried to motion for adjournment.
And they broke the rules by not allowing them 24 hours to see the testimony.
Yeah, and Cummings came out and said that you were trying to silence this man from saying what he wants to say and silence him from saying this to America, trying to keep information from America. And he was cut off by Jim Jordan, pointing out that that's not what we're saying at all. And this has all happened at the very, very beginning. You could quickly see this by clicking on any link to the whole hearing and just listening to the opening part of it, and you'll see what I'm saying. So yeah, it was clear that the timing was very important to them. They couldn't wait 24 hours or 48 hours or a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever it needed to be. They needed to get what they needed to get from Cohen at that moment, so they have time to put this in their opposition commercials for the 2020 election cycle.
Right. And Tucker Carlson's piece, TP tape and trip to Prague. Looks like Cohen just debunked all of that. Take a listen to this.
It may be the subject of extortion or blackmail.
I've heard about these tapes for a long time. I've had many people contact me over the years. I have no reason to believe that tape exists.
The great Jamie Raskin of suburban Maryland, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Mr. Raskin, for clearing that up. So the P tape is not real. There goes the juiciest part of the Trump dossier, which you'll remember was yet another highly publicized scoop from, yes, BuzzFeed. Could be time to get back to those cat videos, fellas. But wait, what about the trip to Prague that Michael Cohen supposedly took? That was part of his collusion with the dark forces of the Russian Empire. That was in the dossier as well. BuzzFeed told us about it. Surely Cohen would admit it now. He's heading to prison. He's got nothing to lose. Well, Cohen was asked about that Prague trip today, and here's what he said.
You have been to Prague?
I've never been to Prague.
Never have.
I've never been to the Czech Republic.
You might balance my time.
This is where it gets confusing. Never been to Prague. This is the point at which what they call the narrative starts to break down a little bit. If Michael Cohen never went to Prague, as BuzzFeed and Adam Schiff and the entire primetime lineup of MSNBC have told us repeatedly that he did, then how exactly did Michael Cohen collude with the Russians to steal the 2016 presidential election from its rightful winner, Hillary Clinton? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida, as incisive an interviewer as the Democrats have, wondered that too. Here's the exchange.
Based on what you know, would Mr. Trump, or did he, lie about colluding and coordinating with the Russians at any point during the campaign?
So as I stated in my testimony, I wouldn't use the word colluding. Was there something odd about the back and forth praise with President Putin? Yes, but I'm not really sure that I can answer that question in terms of collusion.
Oh, wait, so there's no collusion, there's no Russian blackmail, there's no obstruction of justice, there are none of the things that our entire media class has spent the last 2 years huffing and speculating wildly about. If Michael Cohen had the dime, he would drop it, but he doesn't.
And so now that Tucker Carlson is pouncing all over this, the PP tape is debunked, and the trip to Prague, did that happen, Kerry? No!
Apparently not.
No! That was the biggest trending news last night, over the night, was Prague, because Cohen was asked. Finally, a Republican asked Cohen, had you ever been to Prague? And that's this right here.
Question, you testified today you have never been to Prague and have never been to the Czech Republic. Do you stand behind that statement?
Yes, I do.
I offer into the record an article in known conservative news magazine Mother Jones by David Corn, in which he says he reviewed his notes from a phone call with Mr. Cohen, that Mr. Cohen said, quote, I haven't been to Prague in 14 years. I was in Prague for one afternoon 14 years ago, end quote.
And so, as you can see, saying he never went to Prague. He was also pressed about the Prague thing, again, because BuzzFeed, David Corn, who was all involved in all of this nefarious pushing around of the dossier, David Corn said, you told him you haven't been to Prague in 14 years.
So what does that mean, Brian? What does it mean that he has not been to Prague? Why is that important?
Because the whole dossier said that Cohen went to Prague. The dossier saying all these
So under oath, Cohen testified a major portion of the PP-Gate dossier is totally false.
Yes, and
assuming he didn't lie.
Well, right, assuming he didn't lie, but it actually opens up another aspect of this because, as Dan Bongino has been saying, Spygate, and as it's all been unfolding and we've been talking about it, it was Admiral Rogers who went to Donald Trump and said, Trump, your wires are tapped, buddy.
Right.
And now we go back. Admiral Rogers had seen that the data was being spied on. They were looking at the data, the NSA data. We believe that they accidentally found a Michael Cohen that went to Prague.
Oh, and they assumed that would have been probable cause to get FISA warrants for wiretapping and all that kind of stuff.
So Michael Cohen went to Prague, but it was the wrong Michael Cohen. And they put that in the dossier.
Cohen is actually a common last name. Michael is an extremely common first name. Morons. We're dealing with morons here. And this was the justification for violating the Fourth Amendment. This is critical Bill of Rights stuff here.
We know for a fact that they were using third-party individuals to go through the NSA data, and we believe that Nellie Orr who was a Russian specialist, the wife of Bruce Orr, who worked for the FBI. We believe that they brought her in specifically because they could as a contractor, because she's a Russian specialist. So she's going through the data in the NSA database, comes across Michael Cohen. Ow. This is how bad it's gotten, folks, and it's been completely exposed and debunked. And again, like I said, yesterday was a huge explosion for the Democrats, and it completely fell apart. Donald Trump tweeted out, Michael Cohen was one of many lawyers who represented me, unfortunately. He had other clients, too. He was just disbarred by the state Supreme Court for lying and fraud. He did bad things unrelated to Trump. He is lying in order to reduce his prison sentence time using Crooked's lawyer.
Yeah, and we think that, we told you this yesterday, we think that he was in the wrong camp as soon as Donald Trump started running, because I think Cohen's always been loyal to Democrat ideology, Democrats in politics. In general, he probably votes straight down the line, and he probably had no idea that Trump was this conservative. In fact, a lot of people said that he used to be a Democrat.
A whole bunch of people are blown away. Look at all the rappers who idolize Trump. Look at all
and all of a sudden he's a racist.
Yeah.
Out of the blue, he's a racist. And this is why he got elected, because conservatives, especially Tea Party types, are like, damn it! We're not racist. We were called that before. We ran and hid because we didn't want to be associated with racists. We realized that it was all lies. And now that it's happening again, we're not going to take it. And we stood up, and this was Donald Trump's presidency is a miracle.
Absolutely.
It's a miracle.
Without a doubt. And then you also had the new representative, Rashida, reading off her notes. Apparently, these new congresswomen have been handed notes on a regular, and those notes are being read word for word. Who's writing these notes? They don't have their own ideas. Cohen was asked, so did Lanny Davis work for you for free? And he's like, yes, he worked for me for free. Breitbart put up an article. Then why a $500,000 GoFundMe? And then goes through it real quick.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. Real Saavedra tweets out, Michael Cohen admitted Trump has used catch and kill for years. These catch and kill scenarios existed long before I started working for him. So there's a proof, there's history that people have attacked Donald Trump with false stories and false narratives. And as a billionaire, you've got to pay these things off. Cut them and get out of the way and pay them off. Then you had a BuzzFeed just absolutely implode because now them pushing the Russian PPA dossier gate is out of control.
They are the ultimate in fake news. Just know that when it comes out from BuzzFeed, immediately it needs to be treated as totally false, totally made up, intentionally misleading to fit whatever agenda narrative they're trying to do, which is always anti-Trump.
Yep. And Mother Jones tweeted out, the best part of the Cohen hearing so far was when the Republican Rep Chip Roy called us an known conservative news magazine.
Did that happen?
That happened. And that's funny. To wrap all this up, folks, Alex Jones.
Your take? A long time ago when we first started this in 2014, we were constantly making fun of Alex Jones. And then 2015, 16 roll around, and we start to realize a lot of his crazy conspiracy theories were absolutely 100% true. And we were just like, not all of them. We know some of them are false. The contrails, not real. Yeah. We're Air Force veteran. I was a Marine Corps veteran who was in the Air Wing, working on aircraft. I've also been to college for aerospace engineering. Yeah. Trust me, contrails, that's a total fake conspiracy theory. But, sometimes you're right when you go down these rabbit holes, and he was totally right on some of the crazy stuff the Democrat Party is doing, the deep state's doing. And so we started taking a liking to him and say, you know what, let Alex Jones be Alex Jones. He goes on the Joe Rogan show,
and I'm getting flashbacks of Alex Jones from yesteryear. They're arguing flat earther stuff. He's arguing that he'll have the money.
That's, by the way,
he'll buy a giant starship to fly outside of the universe so that they can look back in.
You gotta love it. And there's people out there who I'm friends with, you'll see them on Twitter, who are sharing this as if this is true and great and you should be believing and following this stuff. I know these people personally. They're just pointing out that this is pure entertainment and we should all watch it.
Absolutely. Thank you for spending your time with us here at New Right Network tonight with your host, Brian Smith and Harry Smith, giving you all the news, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, and exposing the fake news. Share this with your friends and family. Go to Smyth.tv. Crush the Patreon button. Crush the Facebook button. All the other stuff that's there.
Share it.
All right, guys.
See you guys.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of Cold War Radio. You can listen live 8 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
I just think he ought to be honest with the American people and try to win as the real Mitt Romney.
Meet the real Mitt Romney.
Who is the real Romney?
No one really knows who the real Mitt Romney is.
He's an enigma, and he's a dad and a family man.
Who is the real Romney?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? Will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? I repeat, will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? We're going to have a problem here.
Y'all act like you haven't seen a Mormon before. George, down on the floor. I'm not concerned about the very poor. Got it wrong. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I want every American to be in the top 1%. I'm really named Willard. That's my first name. I'm not looking for a colony on the moon just for someone to blame. I like being able to fire people.
I'm Newt Gingrich.
You're fired.
I'm Rick Santorum, and I'm fired.
Boom, boom, boom.
Conservative women love Mitt Romney.
And I love cars. I love lakes. I'm running for office, for Pete's sake. With regards to abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, I firmly believe in my own singing voice. For purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain.
Where are we at, John?
With regards to abortion, you can choose your own adventure. It's a Republican dimension. And I'm more concerned about the banks. They're unable to lend. Corporations are people, my friend. My dog is on the roof. My dog is on the roof.
Who let the dogs out?
Understand, I'm an exception. The Obama contraception. Not a vulture. I'm an eagle. I'm going to get my lawn cut by illegals.
Americans want our next president to be a woman. Hey, babe, here's looking at you, Senator Elizabeth Warren. The planet is warming and the power is shifting. We need a leader who won't stand for all the Wall Street bullshit the lobbyists grifting. Run, 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 Liz, run. You gotta run for the office and get the job done. Run, 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 Liz, run. We need a president. We need President Warren. A president. We need President Warren. You shoot straight and tell the truth that we've been chipped, squeezed, and hammered. People think that the system is rigged because it is, and it's time that we stand up. The contract we've known has been cheated and broken. We need a leader who won't stand for all the corporate bullies, political ponies. Run, 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 Liz, run. You gotta run for the office and get the job done. Run, 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 Liz, run. We need a president. We need President Warren. A president. We need President Warren. So you're rich, that's fantastic, and God bless. But there's just a couple of things Liz Warren won't let you forget. Nobody got rich on their own, not nobody. Everybody needs bridges and streets to succeed. Oh, run, 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 Liz, run. You gotta run for the office and get the job done. Run, 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 Liz, run. We need a president. We need President Warren. A president. We need President Warren. A president. We need President Warren.
Run, run, Liz, run. Run, Liz, run.
Next tape, please.
Spectroanalysis tape, sir.
Thank you.
I was taking notes. I was taking notes.
As we have St. Patrick's Day lunch, we can have a moment of what?
One more. Speaking of the arts, Kim Jong-un's been celebrating their ICBM launch with some cultural performances. I just wondered, you live in...
The investigation that, what are we calling now? Special Counsel Mueller.
It's beginning.
Our goals have been to increase lower cost, improve benefits, and expand. Haven't seen a budget. We've seen what do they call it? An outline, blueprint, Minnie Mouse budget. I don't know.
Almost as though they were irrational, drugged.
Congresswoman Beatty is on the Financial Services Committee, and they had issues of mutual concern.
Not even a theory, gentlemen?
Director of National Intelligence or the NRA person that they should not. It raises questions that need to be answered in a.
Definitely not drugs or intoxication.
It is afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm honored this morning, or now afternoon.
Could be some form of space madness we've never heard of. But it would have to be caused by something.
Went into the meeting, it was two of us and five of them, or something, the president, the vice president, and four, Mitch, Republican leader, the speaker, the majority leader, and...
Have the department heads meet me on the bridge. Mr. Sulu, prepare to move in on the Romulan vessel. Ship to ship, Uhura. Put this on the screen.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Reclaiming my time, 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 reclaiming my time.
You're listening to WHBJ Digital Talk from the 412. And thank you for listening to WHBJ. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.